Formula One isn't powered by speed alone. It runs on broken friendships, title-deciding crashes, and mind games. Yet the truth is, it's not always the fastest car that defines history. The real story is written in rivalries. Here are the 8 rivalries that forever changed Formula One. Starting our list at number 8 is the rivalry between Manuel Fangio and Alberto Ascari, a duel from Formula One's formative years. This rivalry is historically significant as Fangio and Ascari were the sport's first 2 superstars, capturing every world championship from 1951 through 1953. Their head-to-head battles laid the foundation for F1's competitive legacy. We rank it 8th because their clashes are less vividly remembered today, and the rivalry was defined by immense mutual respect rather than the personal animosity that characterized later feuds. Fangio, from Argentina, and Ascari, from Italy, were the class of the field in the early 1950s. Fangio won the 1951 World Championship for Alfa Romeo, narrowly beating Ascari's Ferrari. For the next 2 years, the championship was run to Formula 2 regulations, and Ascari dominated for Ferrari, winning back-to-back titles in 1952 and 1953. Fangio was hampered by injury and less competitive machinery during this period. But whenever both were on track in competitive cars, they were invariably battling for the lead. Fangio was known for his strategic brilliance, while Ascari was praised for his metronomic consistency and precision. Their rivalry lacked hostility. In fact, they were friends and respected each other immensely. Fangio once referred to Ascari as his greatest opponent, a high compliment from a driver widely regarded as one of the greatest of all time. Many experts of the era considered Ascari to be Fangio's equal in raw talent. Tragically, their duel was cut short when Ascari was killed in a testing accident in 1955. Fangio would go on to win 5 world titles, but his foundational rivalry with Ascari is remembered as a duel between gentlemen racers who established the benchmark for championship excellence. The rivalry between Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet was an intra-team showdown at Williams that combined ferocious on-track battles with off-track mind games. We rank it 7th among F1 rivalries. This was a clash between 2 top drivers with very different personalities. Mansell, the gritty and determined British charger, and Piquet, a cunning 3-time champion from Brazil with a penchant for psychological warfare. Their rivalry peaked during the 1986 to 1987 seasons when they were teammates at Williams Honda, a period of immense success for the team but also of considerable internal tension. When Piquet joined Williams in 1986, he assumed he would be the number 1 driver, but Mansell proved to be a tougher rival than anticipated. The Williams Honda was the class of the field, and their internal competition was so intense that they effectively cost each other the championship. The title fight went down to the finale in Adelaide, where Mansell's hopes were dashed by a dramatic, high-speed tire blowout. Piquet was then forced into a precautionary pit stop, which allowed McLaren's Alain Prost to steal the title. By 1987, the rivalry had grown even more acrimonious. Piquet frequently needled Mansell in the press, and cooperation within the team broke down. On track, Mansell often had the edge in pure speed, but Piquet used his technical savvy and mind games to his advantage. The championship again came down to a fight between them, but it was decided when Mansell suffered a massive crash in qualifying for the penultimate race in Japan, forcing him to sit out and handing the title to Piquet. Despite the animosity, their battles produced brilliant racing, most notably at the 1987 British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where Mansell hunted down Piquet from a huge deficit to take a famous victory in front of his home crowd. After 1987, Piquet left the team, ending one of F1's most intense teammate feuds. The intra-team rivalry of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg at Mercedes from 2014 to 2016 is ranked 6th, standing as a modern example of how childhood friends can become bitter enemies under the pressure of F1. When they found themselves fighting for world titles in the same dominant car, their friendship quickly deteriorated. This rivalry is characterized by intense psychological warfare, a series of on-track flashpoints, and a dramatic finale that saw one driver walk away from the sport at his peak. The tension began in 2014, the first year of the turbo hybrid era, when the Mercedes was untouchable. Key flashpoints soon emerged that destroyed the trust between the drivers. At Monaco in 2014, Rosberg controversially brought out yellow flags in qualifying, preventing Hamilton from taking pole. Later that year at Spa, Rosberg clipped Hamilton's tire, effectively ending his race, an incident for which the team blamed Rosberg. Hamilton went on to win the title in both 2014 and 2015, but the rivalry only intensified as Rosberg grew more determined to beat his teammate. The 2016 season was the rivalry's climax. The competition grew white-hot, resulting in incidents that nearly derailed the team's dominance. At the Spanish Grand Prix, they collided on the opening lap, taking both cars out of the race. They clashed again on the final lap in Austria, with a damaged Rosberg limping home as Hamilton swept past for the win. Ultimately, Rosberg clinched the 2016 World Championship in a tense finale in Abu Dhabi. Just days later, he shocked the motorsport world by announcing his immediate retirement, admitting he had given everything to beat Hamilton and had nothing left to prove. Their rivalry provided a compelling narrative of a friendship turning into a bitter feud, underscoring the adage that in F1, your first opponent is always your teammate. Quick pit stop. If you're enjoying this ride through F1 history, hit like and subscribe to stay on track with more stories like this. The mid-1990s duel between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill was intense and controversy-filled, which is why it sits at number 5 on our list. This rivalry was essentially a two-season showdown that packed in a lifetime of drama. Schumacher was the audacious rising star, while Hill was the determined Williams driver unexpectedly thrust into a leadership role after the tragic death of his teammate Ayrton Senna in early 1994. The rivalry was defined by a fierce and contentious fight for the 1994 championship that ended with an infamous title-deciding crash. In 1994, Hill and Schumacher found themselves in a tight battle that went down to the final race in Adelaide, Australia. That season was marred by chaos and tragedy, but Hill had managed to close the points gap to Schumacher, setting up a winner-take-all finale. During the race, Schumacher, leading with Hill close behind, went off track and hit a wall. As he returned to the circuit with a damaged car, Hill dove for an inside pass to take the lead and the championship. Schumacher turned in aggressively, and the two collided. Both were forced to retire, meaning Schumacher won the 1994 World Championship by a single point. The incident remains one of the most controversial in F1 history, with many believing Schumacher deliberately took Hill out to secure the title. The rivalry continued into 1995, but this time, Schumacher was in a class of his own, dominating the season to win his second championship with ease, while Hill finished runner-up once again. By the end of that year, the rivalry dissipated as Schumacher moved to Ferrari. Though short-lived, the Schumacher versus Hill feud was symbolic of a volatile era in F1 and provided one of the sport's most notorious moments. Its controversial nature set a precedent for how championships could be decided in a single, contentious instant. The 1976 Hunt-Lauda rivalry is the stuff of motorsport legend, elevated by the film Rush and the incredible true story behind it. We rank it fourth for its iconic status and high drama. James Hunt and Niki Lauda were polar opposites. Hunt was the charismatic British playboy, while Lauda was the disciplined, analytical Austrian. Their contrasting personalities made their duel fascinating, but underneath they shared a mutual respect and even a friendship that began in their junior racing days. This dynamic of friendly rivals who fought fiercely on track captured the world's imagination. The rivalry peaked during the tumultuous 1976 season. Lauda, the reigning champion, started the year in dominant form. The pivotal moment came at the German Grand Prix at the treacherous Nürburgring, where Lauda suffered a near-fatal crash that left him with severe burns and injuries. As Lauda fought for his life, Hunt clawed back points in the championship. Incredibly, just 6 weeks after his accident, Lauda made a heroic return to racing, scarred but determined to defend his title. The championship went down to the final race in Japan, held in torrential rain. Lauda, still leading the points, decided the conditions were too dangerous and withdrew from the race, prioritizing his safety. This left Hunt needing to finish in the points to win the title. In a gripping finale, Hunt recovered from a late pit stop to finish third, securing the championship by a single point. The story continued into 1977, when Lauda returned to full strength and decisively won his second title. Despite its short duration, the Hunt versus Lauda rivalry is enshrined in F1 lore for its incredible human drama, courage, and the deep respect between two very different champions. Michael Schumacher's rivalry with Mika Häkkinen in the late 1990s ranks third on this list, representing a duel defined by mutual respect and supreme driving talent. This rivalry saw two of the era's fastest drivers battle for supremacy in multiple championship showdowns. While it lacked the bitter feuding of other rivalries, Schumacher himself acknowledged Häkkinen as arguably his greatest competitor, once describing him as the best opponent I've had in terms of quality. It was a contest between equals that pushed both to deliver some of their finest performances. The rivalry took off in 1998 when Häkkinen, in his fast McLaren, beat Schumacher's Ferrari to the world title in a season-long fight. In 1999, their duel was cut short when Schumacher broke his leg in a crash at Silverstone, allowing Häkkinen to claim his second title. By 2000, the stakes were sky-high as Schumacher sought to end Ferrari's 21-year championship drought. The two traded blows all season, culminating in a classic showdown at Suzuka, where Schumacher won an epic race to finally secure the crown for the Italian team. Perhaps the most iconic moment of their rivalry came at the 2000 Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. In a breathtaking move, Häkkinen slipstreamed Schumacher down a long straight and, as they approached a backmarker, darted to the inside to pass both cars in a single, daring maneuver to take the win. That pass showcased the incredible skill and trust between the two rivals. In 2001, Häkkinen's motivation began to wane, and he retired at the end of the season. The rivalry is cherished by fans as a prime example of a thrilling yet respectful duel. The image of Schumacher and Häkkinen congratulating each other after a hard-fought battle, each knowing they had been tested by the best, is a lasting legacy of this golden era. Ranked at number 2 is the electrifying Hamilton versus Verstappen rivalry, which, though concentrated in the single 2021 season, produced an intensity and drama rarely seen since the Senna-Prost days. In 2021, seven-time champion Lewis Hamilton faced the young phenom Max Verstappen in a generational battle for the title. The fight was ferocious from start to finish, with both drivers refusing to give an inch, resulting in wheel-to-wheel duels and multiple high-profile collisions. This no-compromise attitude produced some of the most dramatic on-track moments in modern F1 history. At the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, the two battled on the opening lap before making contact at high speed, sending Verstappen flying into the barriers.
Should have been finding.
Later, at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, they collided again, with Verstappen's car ending up on top of Hamilton's Mercedes. Both incidents saw each driver blame the other, underscoring their refusal to back down. The title fight built to an extraordinary and contentious finale in Abu Dhabi, with both drivers entering the final race tied on points. The race ended with a last-lap overtake by Verstappen after a controversial late safety car restart allowed him a clear shot at Hamilton. Verstappen seized the chance to pass Hamilton and clinch his first world championship. Leaving Hamilton and his team stunned. The sheer quality of the racing and the unprecedented level of drama make this a modern classic. It pitted one of F1's most successful veterans against a hungry young talent, producing a rivalry with the same ruthless air as Senna versus Prost. It is narrowly edged out from the top spot simply because it spanned a shorter period. Topping our list at number 1 is the rivalry between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. It is widely regarded as the most intense and infamous duel in F1 history. Senna and Prost were contrasting personalities. Senna, the fiery, aggressive talent, and Prost, the cool, calculating professor, who clashed repeatedly as teammates and title rivals. Between 1985 and 1993, these two legends won all but 2 drivers' championships, underlining their domination of the era. Tensions escalated when Senna joined Prost at McLaren in 1988, and their relationship soon turned toxic. The rivalry's most notorious moments came at the Japanese Grand Prix in back-to-back years, deciding the championship on both occasions. In 1989, with a teammate's relationship in tatters, Prost turned in on Senna at the final chicane to prevent a pass, causing a collision. Senna recovered to win the race, but was controversially disqualified, handing Prost the title. A year later, with Prost now at Ferrari, Senna enacted his revenge. At the first corner of the race, he deliberately rammed into Prost at high speed, taking them both out and sealing the 1990 championship for himself in a bitterly aggressive manner. These clashes, where drivers took each other out to win a title, were unprecedented. Despite the acrimony, both men respected each other's abilities. In 1993, during Prost's final season, they dueled for wins once more. At Prost's last race, Senna pulled him up onto the top step of the podium, a sign that the frosty relationship had finally begun to thaw. Still, the Senna-Prost rivalry remains the benchmark for all others. It combines sheer talent, personal animosity, and high-stakes drama, including 2 title-deciding collisions, making it the most fierce and controversial rivalry Formula One has ever seen. That's the checkered flag. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and join us next time for another story that shaped Formula One.